Discover connection, awaken sacredness, become empowered. Join us for our show on Blog Talk Radio. Discover your spiritual gifts live.
Welcome to Discover Your Spiritual Gifts show number 63. We are your hosts, Dave, who is not with us today, and Vialet. Our guest today is JP McLaughlin. I'm so excited to have him join us today. I'm doing more of a casual introduction, and we're just going to jump in and have a little bit of fun. So talk to me, JP. What has been your spiritual journey to lead you up to becoming a shaman? How did you get to this point, and how were you led here? I always love those stories.
And they're always convoluted stories, aren't they? It's a pleasure. Thank you for asking me on your show, Vialet. Be here. So we're going to go back, I think, to about 1975, in which I had my very first call to spirit at that point. And like a lot of people who are on a shamanic path, I had numerous calls to spirit that I ignored along the way. And then eventually spirit just knocks on the door ever harder and harder every time. And then eventually it gets so loud, you have to answer the door. So I was on an expedition from UCLA looking for meteorites at the meteor crater in Winslow, Arizona. And so we had special permission, and we were out there with metal detectors, finding all these meteorites, and it was a blast. But there are a lot, it's a very spiritual area near Flagstaff, Arizona. And, you've got both the Dene and the Hopi reservations right there. And so it's just infused with this because it's still very spiritually active. And there's still a great connection between the spirits of the land and the people who inhabit it. And I was in a ruin, and just stepping through it. And all of a sudden in my peripheral vision, I could see people who were actively living in those ruins, and they weren't ruins. So I was like time traveling just a little bit in my peripheral vision. And I would I would try to look at it, and it would go away, and I would go back and look down to the horizon, and I would see it again. And it fascinated me and kind of scared me a little bit. I was pretty young back then. And I came later on to realize that was the first knocking on the door, that like it's a bigger world. And I grew up in the desert Southwest. And so I was in an area that felt really at home. I was very comfortable there. So I always remembered that moment as the first time I became aware that the universe was a much bigger place than I thought. I did not have any kind of religious or spiritual upbringing whatsoever. So it all just came from that particular experience, and everything built off of that. So, there I am realizing that it's a bigger universe. And then I go on and basically, like most Americans, ignored that and tried to just not really do anything about it. And perhaps 10 years later, as I was emerging as an adult and developing my own practices and beginning to consult a little bit in the business world, I realized that there was more to leadership and living what I call contemplative and functional life in this craziness all around us. So I started seeking ways to deal with that, both for myself and to help others through this. So I stumbled into Tibetan Buddhism and hung out at Naropa University in Boulder quite a bit. I don't have a degree from there, but I was always there at evening classes and things like that. And so that began a path of paying attention, right, to my own body, how I feel, how I interface with things, how I react to stuff. And that's both a core teaching in modern shamanism, because modern shamanism has to respond to the world around us and the world we live in. So, being able to find a place of stillness in your mind is a key thing, so that you don't become too engaged with and overstimulated by what's going on around us. So I spent all this time studying these techniques and getting better at it, and teaching others these things as I went along. But my path, as many others have experienced as well, tends to be one of peeling an onion back, and we discover and engage with what we're able to handle along the way, and it just keeps building. So Tibetan Buddhism was the beginning of that. Then I started thinking, well, there must be a little bit more than this, and I went on a vision quest with a wonderful teacher named John Milton. And what my intention around that was to learn some ever deeper techniques that I could use to teach leadership to others. And so I'm on this vision quest, and it's basically 3 weeks on your own in the wilderness with a vision fast in the middle of it. And so I had incredible transformative experiences while I was there. And so instead of just taking away leadership lessons I could teach to others, like how to persevere and be resilient and, a situation like that, I had all kinds of very deep, meaningful experiences, including connecting deeply with a tree that I camped underneath for 3 weeks. So I realized then that the universe is way bigger than I thought it was. And so I came back from that experience, not just ready to teach some leadership lessons around, resilience that you can learn from nature, but also realizing that I had to take a much bigger step myself. So I started looking for shamanic teachers, and that took me years, literally, to find teachers that I resonated with and felt that just felt right. Felt that I could really flourish and learn what I need to learn. And so I ended up studying with Ginger and Dale Lee out of Salida for a long time. And that was the entry point for me into actually being initiated as a shaman, and then going forth in, this great thing that we built now. I have 3 other partners in this business. Our primary mission is to teach. And so we teach a lot of workshops, but we also do shamanic healing. We each take basically a day a week and hold office hours so that we're available 3 or 4 days a week for shamanic healing as well. Because it's good. You always have to keep those skills, in practice as you go through it. So even though I'm not a healer every single day, as far as office hours go, I do it every week at least, so that you maintain some competency in that. You can't teach stuff you don't practice, right? So got to always practice these things and be available to people. But so I went through that, and then I studied with Itzhak Berry and a number of other teachers along the way, just to hone my skills as I go, because everybody has something new and interesting to offer. Staying current and always experiencing new things, I think, is very important as well. So, I just began piling it on after that, and after the training and after my initiation. And then, here's how these things go, which is, these experiences are also spirit driven at their core. And so I go through all my training and initiation, and I just, at that point, you barely know anything, and you really realize that you barely know anything. But it is time to kind of start moving out in the world. So I felt moved to put up a 1-page website, Shaman JP, here you are. But I didn't promote it. I didn't do anything. I just felt like I needed to do that, like a statement that this is who I am. And it wasn't like 2 or 3 days after I put that up, and I had never really even I had certainly not done a professional shamanic healing session. I had done the kind of work you do as an apprentice, and I had done a lot of sessions, but I'd never done a session just as Shaman JP being there. And I get a call to go to ICU to work with someone who at the time it was believed was in their last days, but turned out not to be the case. But there I am, right, doing pastoral counseling in ICU, 3 days after I put this website up, because spirit made that kind of connection. And so I learned a lot then, including the fact that in order in our culture and society, in order to actually be recognized as a practitioner who could be present in a situation like that and be on a call list, for example, to do death rites, if it came to that, that I had to go get my, basically my fake, credentials from Universal Life Church, just to be recognized as someone who could come in and be present in those situations. That's something we'll talk about that later. We're working to rectify that. But I just went through that whole experience of being immersed in these things and showing up, as a shaman. And, from there, I just knew that, well, I'm stuck now. Yes, one of the things about opening a spiritual door is you can't really readily slam it once you have, right?
You can't go back through it. You just got to keep going forward, because spirit's not going to let you, and you can't forget what you already know. I'm curious, JP, how would you define a shaman? Because you talked about finding the right teacher and finding the right direction. And, I've met lots of shamans, and they all have different perspectives and different approaches. So what is your definition of a shaman, and what does that look like for you, for our listeners that are curious, that have no idea?
Sure. Well, shamanism itself is probably the oldest spiritual tradition on the planet. It certainly predates history, which means we then don't really know what came first, but it's been around for a long time, at least 60,000 years, probably much longer than that. Ethnographically, it's recognized as having come out of Siberia, but that's really just because the word shaman owes its roots to to the title taken by some shamans in Siberia. But that's probably, it appears to have floated up independently on every continent. And if you get a bunch of shamans together from all over the world, we've all had very common experiences and share a lot of things in common, have a lot to talk about typically. But that being the source of shamanism and spreading across the world, first and foremost, it is just a spiritual framework that you can use to connect to spirit in a broader sense, to engage with it, to work with it. Most importantly, to have a direct connection between yourself as a human being and spirit. There is no intermediary. I mean, when we're teaching shamanism, we're teaching people how to make their own connection, right? There's not a belief system you have to adhere to. We are simply going to guide people through experiences of this kind of discovery. How do you connect directly with spirit? So first and foremost, a shaman is someone who directly works with spirit and spirit helpers on behalf of the planet, people, animals, all of the inhabitants here. But as a shaman, we're what's called a hollow bone. This is a really, really important concept, the one that I truly believe in, which is we're just the conduit for that. In shamanic healing, I am moving energy that is coming from spirit through me on behalf of the client. I'm not doing this. Matter of fact, the best thing I can do is be this intermediary in a way to make this connection and then get out of the way, right? And let spirit figure it out. So first and foremost, then, a shaman is someone who works with and through spirit, but is not themselves engaged in these things. I am not, I guess you'd call me a healer, right? But I don't actually do that healing. I'm just a witness to it and a conduit for it. And so that's a key, description of a shaman, someone who works with and through spirit on behalf of others. And that's really, I think, the core of it. There's a little bit of Tibetan Buddhism that always comes back in this with me, because a core teaching there is that where you can, whenever you can, you relieve suffering when you see it. And that remains really a driver for me in the work that I do, which is, when we're doing healing or when we're teaching our courses, it is all about how to live and thrive in the modern world around us. We're not pretending we're somewhere else. We're not wishing the world were different, although that is an exercise that we practice, right? How to dream the world into being. but we're not trying to run from it. We are trying to work within it as effectively as we can, because this is the place we are. This is the life. These are the lives we live. We're both in a modern setting here. There's heat, there are lights, there are all these things. Right? This is the context in which we operate. And so it's also the context in which we practice our shamanism. It's the other beautiful thing about shamanism is it is fully adaptable to wherever you are, in whatever circumstance you are. I am just as comfortable in wilderness, which I like to do. Right now, I'm kind of on a waiting list for some knee surgery, but in a normal time, I am out there. I've been known to take a backpack and walk out in the desert and come back 2 or 3 days later, just because I like being there and just like being in the presence of all of this unfiltered energy and awareness that's there. Which brings up one other point about shamanism. Shamans are animists. And that's an important thing to realize, which means that there's life force and intelligence in everything. And, the degree to which it's easy to communicate with it is the degree to which it is more or less like you. But for example, there's drywall all around me here in here. And one of my partners in our business, Shaman Rowena, has developed a technique of waking up drywall, because drywall is basically gypsum. And what is gypsum? Selenite. And so there's all these protective factors and wisdom present in the drywall in our houses. And she developed a technique to wake it up, which is fantastic, right? But that's how we engage with everything, with our houses, with our cars, with my computer right here. Most of them have names. I talk to them that way, and engage with them that way, because as a shaman, I see that there is awareness and intelligence in all of these things, and you need to respect them and treat them that way. So if you want to be treated with respect in this universe, treat everything else with respect, including things that we would normally consider to be just objects, but to a shaman, they're not.
Right. Everything has energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything has energy, right? So it's very similar to a healer that believes that they're just holding space for energy to flow through them. You called it the hollow bone. We call it a channel. We're just a channel to move energy, very similar. And I love the fact that, what most people don't know is some people think shamanism is just Native American, and it's really across lots of different cultures and belief systems and areas. And the only reason I know that is one of the folks in our center is a shaman. She teaches shaman classes. So I learn from her all the time. She's my shaman that teaches me. And she's like, it's everywhere. It's almost in every culture, different perspectives, different viewpoints, all the way down to different types of drums in each culture and how they use them. I just love that. It's just not all Native American. It's so much broader than that. And most people don't realize that. So while we're here, let's take a break. What we're going to do is bring on some commercials with some of our practitioners here at Discover Your Spiritual Gifts, and we'll be right back. Hi, I'm Vialet Rain, Master and Teacher of Angelic Reiki at Discover Your Spiritual Gifts. If you love angels, if you resonate with angels, or you're just interested in learning more about angels, most people really want to consider Angelic Reiki. But Angelic Reiki is more than just working with the angels and learning a new healing modality. It's about ascension. And when you step into Angelic Reiki, you're not only working with angels, but you're working with ascended masters and galactic healers. The angelic kingdom of light, which includes all of those, steps in and helps you be able to hold more light. And what I have found along this journey is it expands your ability to be able to hold light, which raises your frequency, which accelerates your ascension process. So the individuals that step onto Angelic Reiki are really ready to step onto their spiritual path. learn more about angels, ascended masters, galactic healers, learn possibly a new healing modality that they'll use in their life, but also they're ready for those major shifts in their lives to really be on their spiritual path and take their journey to the next level. If you've been thinking about Angelic Reiki, or you'd like to find out more about this beautiful modality, please don't hesitate to contact me, Vialet, at discoveryourspiritualgifts.com, or check out our website under classes. You will find Angelic Reiki there with lots of information about this program and the benefits of taking this course. We hope to see you in class really soon, and I hope to see you at Discover Your Spiritual Gifts. Welcome back. We're having a great conversation with JP on shamanism. I have a question because, a lot of our listeners are really new and they're trying to figure out their path and where they're going. What recommendations would you make for someone that is looking for a course or program, some things that they consider? Because you talked about in the beginning, trying to find something that resonated with you. And I think a lot of new people just step into stuff without really stepping back and considering, does this program resonate with me? Does this teacher, this connection? Do you have some suggestions for people that are out there? And it's not a shaman class, about any class that they're wanting to step into, of how to look at programs and evaluate that fit?
Yeah, that's a great question. Most people, in our practice, we offer a free shamanic journey workshop every month for beginners. Most practitioners will offer something like that, whether it's a half-day workshop or simply something like our journey group. Just look for these things. It's easy these days. You can just, go to a search engine and start looking. And from that point, just go and attend it and see how you feel and resonate with the teacher, because there are so many perspectives to this. And it's like I say to people, who are seeking, if you find us, we may not be your ultimate solution to what you're seeking, right? But just keep looking, because Spirit will nudge you around until you find what it is. But you have to engage with it, which is the important part, right? Sitting on your hands, wishing for it to happen, is typically not going to make it happen, right? So get out there and do some searching around. Go to a metaphysical shop that you like and see who's teaching there, and just go, attend something quick and easy and inexpensive, and find somebody that you feel you can resonate with and can go from there. Because there are, as many teaching techniques as there are teachers out there in the world. So it's a matter of finding that appropriate connection for you. And then you have to develop a real solid relationship of trust, because there are aspects in engaging with shamanism where you're having to basically release a lot of things that we carry around with us, from modern life and from trauma and other stuff like that. So the work gets to be really challenging. So you've got to find somebody, or a team of someone, a team of people that you trust, that you can take and go through this process. So just get out there a little bit, take some easy workshops, and sort of just build on that and go from there is what I would suggest.
I love that.
But eventually pick something, because the other thing that I see a lot are people who they taste test everything, but they never take a deep dive into anything. And so then your spiritual path may feel, very robust in that you've been exposed to a lot of things. But if you don't take a deep dive into any of these traditions, then you really are selling yourself short as far as what your spiritual journey really can be. So eventually, I think you need to really just get in there and roll up your sleeves and do the work, which will take time. In shamanism, from beginning to end, there's a whole gamut of approaches out there. But on average, I would say that from the day you start until you've really moved your way through some serious shamanic education, it's a couple of years of commitment. I see that.
Yeah, it takes, there are some students that come and study with me for 2, 3, 4 years, right? It takes that commitment of really diving in. And I think that's when you get the most out of it. So talking about classes and programs, what types of classes do you offer? What are your programs? What direction are you and your team going? Because I know you work with a team of people. So share with us a little bit about that.
Sure. We're called Everyday Shamanism. And there are 4 of us in this practice. And we all just kind of, for one reason or another, one individual here was also training at the same place I did for a while. So that's where we met. But we all just came together with this common goal and vision as to what it is we could offer. And I'll say this, that, practicing as a shaman is often a solitary thing in our culture. But it's great to have these partners around me because, we trade off things, right? We 4 of us to teach Journey Circle, right? We only need 2 people there at one time. So there's always someone available. If you're not feeling well, there's someone who can pick up the slack. When we go to teach, it's nice to be able to not have to talk the whole time, the whole weekend or the whole week, right? There are other people who can bring it. So it's great to have that diversity and that availability to it. So we offer a complete curriculum from beginning all the way through to advanced practitioner skills. And we've structured it in a way that it keeps building on one thing after another. Our beginning course is called Stepping Stones. And there are 2 ways to take this course. One is over the course of 2 consecutive weekends. So it's 4 full days. Or we teach it in retreat, which we then would begin on a Sunday evening and go through noon on the following Friday. So we all get together essentially for a week in retreat. Both of those are effective ways to get started. I think the retreat's a better experience. It's more immersive, and it really helps jumpstart, I think, your spiritual work at that point. But Stepping Stones is designed to teach you the things that in a shamanic culture you would be brought up in. So, the way I like to describe it is Stepping Stones creates a shamanic person ready to function in a shamanic way in our culture and in our society. So, you've got some skills that you can use to help yourself, to help your friends and your family. But it's not a skill set to become a shamanic practitioner yet. It's a skill set to become a shamanic person interfacing with the universe that way. That is sometimes exactly what people are looking for. And they take that course and then they go off and they do their own thing after that. If you are called to go more deeply than that, then the next course is called The Medicine Way of Everyday Shamanism. It's got all kinds of much more in-depth teachings and practices, and you begin to practice with others at that point. So many times we pair off, and so you're taught shamanic healing forms, and then you work with each other as students through that. So it's a little bit like getting your feet wet being a shamanic healer. So that course takes it's taught in 2 2 one-week sessions with a couple of months in between, and we do a lot of work online in between. So there's a big commitment there, but you still get through that, in 2 or 3 months based upon how the schedules look. And at that point, then you also receive, our tradition is Peruvian/Andean. So you also receive the rites of the Munai Ki as you go through that, and some initial shamanic initiations along the way. So at that point, you now have a lot of experience in working with others, and you can begin to step out and engage as a healer with, on behalf of and for other humans, animals, the planet, the universe. And you've had a lot of practice at this point working with these techniques, and you're comfortable with it. Then, if you still feel called to go further, we offer advanced courses in very specific techniques like soul retrieval, a practice we call illumination, clearing heavy energies, plant medicine. So when you go through that process, then you acquire really the last bit of necessary skill to hang out your shingle and say, I'm shaman so-and-so. and really be prepared to practice on behalf of others. So
very cool.
Yeah. So, and we very intentionally structured that so that you could take the level of coursework that's appropriate to your goals and what you want to achieve and how you see your path going. But we can just keep taking that ever further. And then we will offer apprenticeships if that's what people want to do. And then you start to practice under supervision. So, we are prepared to bring someone along from beginning to end. And then we also encourage people to study with a breadth of teachers, because every teacher has something different to offer along the way. And I want to mention one other thing when we talk about, what our training looks like. We are in the process of working through creating a seminary, essentially, so that we can actually ordain people legally in this country. So we don't have to go to Universal Life Church and get what feel like kind of fake credentials, to practice our tradition in our culture. So we're hoping to have that on its way within a year or so. And then at that point, we'll be able to offer some additional coursework and then certification that would allow you to be ordained as a shaman and practice as a religious recognized spiritual leader in our culture. So that's like that one final little step of legitimacy towards opening this up to a broader audience and then a broader acceptance in society. Most people are curious. I think if you put 100 people in a room and say, what's a shaman, that only 10 would have a vague idea, and only a couple of people would probably be able to peg it if you asked them to define it. So we have a lot of work to do yet as far as getting recognition up as to what shamanism offers, but we're committed to doing that, which means you just have to do outreach and get out there and be, as much as you can, public figures and leaders so that others can see it and be attracted to it. It's hard for people to be attracted to something they can't find. So you've got to do things to get it out there. So that's a key component of what we do as well.
Absolutely. Lots of people are searching, what's next for me? Where am I going? Curious, trying to figure out their inner truth, whatever that is, and where they're guided. So I love the fact that you're offering things in different levels so that some people just want it for themselves and some people want to practice it. So it varies on where people are coming from and what they're really looking for. So I love that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we don't, a lot of people come with an intention of just doing it all, which is great. But, we just sign up for the first course, take that, see how you feel at the end of it.
Right.
Because it's a progressive path but it's a huge commitment. It really is a huge commitment. And you will never be the same once you start walking down the path. And like we said earlier, there's no going back. No. So, try to counsel people to be really serious. The first course is, relatively easy. We introduce a lot of things, we practice things. So, it's not as huge a commitment as moving forward. That's something anyone can take just to experience it and figure it out for themselves. And it was intentionally done that way. But anything beyond that, boy, it's roll up your sleeves and do some hard work. And we have a lot of rigor in our program. So it is important that people are ready to commit to it. But the flip side is you will come out really well trained and be very, very competent and grounded both in what people would see as traditional shamanic practices, as well as the science behind that, which is very important to us, right? So you'll get some quantum physics, you'll get some epigenetics, because I think, and we all believe this, right, that it's really important as you visualize as a healer what is going on, that you understand some of the mechanisms that work underneath it, right? What am I really doing here? What am I participating in? And so, we ground that as well. You get a lot of science along the way as to what's going on.
Very cool. Very cool. So how could somebody learn more, like to schedule a session? Where do they need to go to kind of connect?
Absolutely. It's very simple. You just need to go to www.everydayshamanism.com. And we have a very thorough website that'll step you through all the things that we offer. That would include, obviously, Shamanic Healing and our entire training program. And then other events, we're all coming out of the pandemic a little bit here. And so, we did our first fair in 2 years a couple of weeks ago, and we'll be up in Loveland early in November at the Body, Mind, Spirit Expo. And it's good to be out in public again and actually be meeting people. Carefully, we're being careful as we go, as we need to be. But it's great to be back out and working with individuals again and meeting new people again. So we're very excited. I mean, we were slowed down a bit, in the last year and a half or so. We have a full slate of training on the schedule for 2022, beginning in January. So, we're ready to go back to where we were in 2019, which is really, really exciting for us. So yeah, just visit our website and you'll learn lots about us there.
I love that. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today and share your perspective, right? Because I love hearing everyone's different perspectives, because we all come at this a little bit differently, but there's also some common ground. So I love that, it all connects and it has, some different pieces to it. So thanks for sharing with us today.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. But it's been great to meet you, and it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, and you're right here in Denver, so I look forward to meeting you in person. So you'll have to come down and see us and check it out, or I can come up there. It's been a little while since I've been to ISIS, but definitely like going up there as well. So
we'll check out each other's locations here. Since it's great to discover you and the work you're doing too.
Yeah,
fantastic, by the way.
Very cool. Well, thank you. And I know some of the others there at the center that you work out of. Charles Cox does some of his programs at our center, and I know ISIS. So,
Charles's office is right next to ours. So
and Granddaughter Crow is one of my favorite people in the world. So I love Granddaughter Crow. So you're in very good company over there. So.
Yeah, we are. It's a great group of people there. So
yeah, very cool. Well, thank you, JP. Thank you for those listening. We hope you enjoy the show. Keep checking out our shows as we release them, and we hope to see you really soon at Discover Your Spiritual Gifts. Hold on just for a few minutes and listen to some of the offerings that we have here at the center.
Hi, my name is Christina Morris. I am the founder and president of Balance and Bliss Energy Healing. I'm a medical intuitive and high vibrational healer. I work with the energy fields. My scope of practice is energy medicine. Anything above and beyond that, for outside care, we'll need to refer you out there. But I do use crystals and aromatherapy in my healings. And I help manage pain. We help move some of the pain out of the body that might be coming from stagnant energy within the field, as well as, we get to the root of the problem with, any emotional trauma and find out what's going on that could be causing more stagnant energy to be left in your aura, which in turn can cause illness and pain and a lot of other issues that we tend to see throughout our day-to-day lives. And then I can be reached by appointment. You can make appointments anytime, any day of the week. I do work Monday through Friday in the evenings from about 5:30 to 8:30. Your first session can be about an hour and a half because we get to know one another. We kind of go through what's going on. And then any session thereafter would run about 50 minutes to an hour. And I can be reached through my website at balanceandblissenergyhealing.com. My email is balanceandblissenergyhealing@gmail.com. And I can also be reached via phone or text at 720-696-0286. And I look forward to any, potential clients. If you have any referrals or if you are in need of any of my services, I look forward to working with you.
I'm Kate Thomason, aka the Joy Architect. And they call me the Joy Architect because I help people build lives based on their joy. I learned from a near soul death what it takes to make a life joyful, because I realized that that was what was missing. And when I brought it all back in, I realized, aha, this is how it works. This is how you make life fun. You bring the soul in, and now I have a method, a process by which people can have this relationship with themselves, their greater self, very quickly. And they find that foundation of fun in their life that they can use to build their life on. I'm a practitioner at Discover Your Spiritual Gifts, so they can look on the website under the practitioners there. Or you can find me at my website, KatherineBlakeThomason.com, Katherine, Blake, Blake, Thomason, TOMASSON.com. I'm available by appointment 7 days a week. I work at the center on Fridays from 10 to 5.
Hi, my name is Heather McCormick-Ramey, and I'm a medium and energy healer. I love helping people connect deeply with spiritual messages, with ancestors, and all of that amazing support that is surrounding them. Now, Spirit started working with me at a very young age, and as I created more and more space for those messages to come through, it's been a really life-changing experience. And this is what I offer to my clients. So if you're interested in mediumship, look to book at Discover Your Spiritual Gifts. I'm there as a reader, and I also have practitioner hours as an energy healer. With the energy healing, I help my clients bust through limiting beliefs and really live their soul-aligned life. So please reach out to Discover Your Spiritual Gifts if you're interested in learning more and connecting deeply with your soul's purpose and spirit. I look forward to seeing you soon.
Discover connection, awaken sacredness, become empowered. Join us for our show on Blog Talk Radio.